Hello everyone and welcome back to Deinfluenced. I'm your host Sasha, and my goal here is to get you guys to think critically about where you're currently spending your social media currency. And I do that by revealing the truth behind the highlight reels of today's popular influencers. Today, we got a big one, guys. The long-awaited Basham birth vlog has been posted, and can I just say, how dare they do that to me? How dare they post the same day that I filmed and edited and posted a video? Are they not thinking of anyone other than themselves? I don't appreciate it. But I promised you guys, and this is going to be 45 minutes of the Bashams, and I'm not looking forward to it. And it's going to probably be super over dramatized because remember, we have to clickbait this traumatic birth story that's completely out of the norm, and she's the only one that's ever been through any type of birth trauma. And when you use big words like that, like trauma, birth trauma, to garner sympathy from people, and it's actually not super traumatic, that's potentially harmful for the people that did have a traumatic birth. And see you allegedly having this super traumatic birth and then being up and vlogging a couple days later and up and doing outfits of the day and feeling back to your normal self. I don't know, it seems yucky to me, and it seems to be feeding into that bounce back culture, which we all know she wanted to so bad bounce right back to her old self, which is potentially really, really harmful for the mental health of other women, especially the younger women that follow her. So we're gonna just do it and hope for the best, and hopefully we can get through this without crying or anything else. Not looking forward to it, but let's go. All right, so we're just gonna jump right into it. It's 45 minutes of a story time with Drue and Gabe, so yeah. We kind of just got to get started. And I want to present to you at the end what bounce back culture is and how it's potentially harmful in the realm of social media and social media influencers, but also for the consumers of social media as well. So let's go. I'm not. There's no sound. That's not good. Hold, please. Why is there no sound? Oh, probably because I have it muted because I was playing around earlier. Okay, let's try again. Here goes nothing.
Well, hello there, Basham family.
Guys, welcome back to the Basham Family YouTube channel.
So we don't have a 39-week update appointment.
I wonder why that
What? There's no 39-week update? I wonder why.
is.
And we're not in the stinking living room. Ivy!
This is going to be a video talking about... Oh, she's smiling.
Hi, babe.
This is going to be a
No, she's not. She's got poop or gas coming out. It's not a smile.
video talking about the birth of what happened and everything we went through as a couple and everybody around us. So, okay, so starting off, I want to talk about Ivory. She's right here. She's absolutely so beautiful, so perfect, and we cannot believe that we get to be the ones that are blessed to be her mommy and daddy.
Can you show her?
Yeah, you guys want to see her?
I say hi.
She right there. Oh, look, she just gave out a side eye.
Sometimes her makes mean faces, okay?
I want to talk a little bit of information about Ivory Amelia. She was born August 25th, 2024 at 5:13 p.m., weighing 6 pounds.
9 ounces.
And how long was she?
20 inches.
20 inches long.
Honestly, we thought she was going to
That's just a little baby, just a little baby, 6-pounder.
be a bigger baby, but y'all, she literally, preemie clothes are a little bit too big for her.
You thought she was gonna be a bigger baby, eh?
Like her little legs and stuff still come out and sometimes fit into one leg hole because she's so little.
She's living at
Oh my gosh, when I had my daughter, sorry, I'm already pausing a ton. When I had my daughter, she was so little for so long that she couldn't even fit into preemie clothes. Like, her legs weren't just sticking out a little. No, she could have probably fit into Barbie clothes. I'm exaggerating a little bit. But yeah, she couldn't even fit into preemie clothes. And then after, oh gosh, how long was it? It was probably about a month. We could start putting clothes onto her instead of just a little diaper in her incubator. And when we started putting clothes on her, the onesies, like, it was like this long under the diaper and just all crazy. Teeny babies, crazy.
and she's not preemie, guys.
Preemies are crazy. This baby is not a preemie. Yes.
She was 39 weeks on the dot when she was born, so she wasn't preemie, but she's just a little girl. But yeah, let's get into the story. Let's get into what happened, and
Please
I'll
do.
give it up to you.
I always dreamed of like what it would feel like to have my water break, and I always like prayed throughout my whole pregnancy that like mine would break on its own because I was terrified of like the doctor breaking it. And so
It's not that big of a deal. Don't be terrified if you need your water broken. Evidently, I have very strong amniotic sac because my water never broke on its own. With my first son, it actually like partially broke, and then he plugged the hole, and then my labor was stalled, and we waited around and waited around and waited around till they came in and had time to break my water because they weren't sure how fast it was going to be. And it was really fast. And then with my second son, my water also didn't break, interestingly enough. And that was also a crazy quick and crazy.
Saturday night, which is 1 a.m. Saturday, or is it Sunday?
That's technically Sunday, but we'll call it Saturday night, Sunday morning.
Saturday, yeah. So Saturday night, I went to bed with some cramping. I had been having some cramping, like you guys had known about from my 37-week appointment, but I was like, it's just the normal kind of same cramping. So I was like, maybe it is what it is, right? Like maybe I'll have a night, maybe not. So then around 1:40 in the morning, I kind of have this like weird bubble feeling in my stomach, which with being pregnant, you have bubbles in your stomach all the time. And so I had this like weird feeling like I needed to get up to go to the bathroom. So I went to go to the bathroom, and when I stood up, this weird feeling of like a bubble like in my leg coming down. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so I walked into the bathroom, and I felt like some water dripping down my leg, and I was like, there's no way. So I run to the little bathroom. I run to the bathroom. I sit down, and it just everywhere. Water goes.
Listen, Drue, consider yourself lucky because some people, when they roll to get out of bed and their water is kind of dripping down, just go all over the carpet. Sorry, Mom.
Everywhere. And so I started going, Gabe, my water broke. And he was like, what? No. So he runs in there, and he's like, oh my gosh, let me go get your mom. So he runs and gets my mom. I stand up, and then it just keeps coming out everywhere, all over the floor, all in the bathroom.
Why'd you stand up?
Breaks. She's calling me. I'm asleep in the bed, right? So I'm like, what? She said, I think my water broke. And I'm like, what? So I go in the bathroom. Sure enough, Drue's standing there, and there's just like clear liquid just hitting the ground.
Everywhere. It's like coming out crazy.
All over the bathroom. So the first thing I do is I'm like, okay.
At least it was clear. Good sign.
Okay, babe, stay right here. I want to go wake up her mom, and I tell Miss Donna, hey, look, Drue's water's broke. And she goes, huh? I said, Drue's water broke. So Miss Donna jumps out the bed like a jack in the box and takes off running into our room. So me and Miss Donna coming back into the room, Drue's just standing there, water's dripping. We get that cleaned up, we get Drue taken care of, and then I start packing the car.
Yeah.
And then you and your mom.
What? The car wasn't already packed? I thought you packed it like 7, 8, 9, 12 weeks ago. Hospital bag and car seat and everything. It wasn't packed yet? Slackers.
Mom, I don't know what y'all were doing when I was packing the car.
I was getting dressed. I was getting dressed. I was telling the dogs bye. I was kind of walking in circles, freaking out.
But you didn't have any cramps at this point.
No, I just had the same like period cramps. Like I wasn't in pain or anything. I expected it to like instantly like hurt, but like I had like the period cramps that I had before. So it was just like I was more like nervous, like scared than anything.
So once that happened, we get out.
That can stall labor as well if you're really nervous and scared. The best thing, if you are almost due to have your baby and you're trying to have your baby, the best thing to do is to relax, because the more relaxed your body is, the more likely it is to go into labor because it's not stressed with whatever else you're stressed about. Fun fact.
Got to the vehicle, already packed the car. Drue and Miss Donna get in, and then we start heading out to the hospital. The hospital is about 45 minutes from where we live, the one we were using.
That's far.
The drive
felt like forever.
It did. The drive felt like forever. But we finally got to the hospital. We get inside the hospital.
Gosh, the hospital that I delivered at, I ended up delivering at one hospital further because I was high risk. So it was about like a 20-minute drive. But with the 20 minutes, like I said, my water didn't break, but I woke up that morning and I was having like crampies and stuff like that, kind of like her. And it just wasn't going away. And I always have Braxton Hicks all through my pregnancy, basically from like 16 weeks, really, really early. I remember I was like, I think we need to call my mom to come watch the kids. And there was this one that almost floored me. And I was like, yeah, we gotta go like right now. Oh my God. And my husband drove really fast to the hospital because it was crazy intense. And we got there and I was already 6 centimeters. And then they're like, do you want an epidural? And it was my first epidural. Didn't have one with the first two. Didn't want one. They scare me. And I was like, yes, please, I want an epidural. Anyway, the weight and everything, I guarantee you I was 10 centimeters when I got that epidural in. And I mean, best thing ever, the epidural, because holy moly, I was able to like relax and just like my body kind of just did its thing. But that's not fair. It's not fair to labor all the way through labor and then get the epidural for just pushing, but godsend.
About probably around 2:20, something like that, and then we go up to the labor and delivery triage.
So next part is we get to triage because you go to like the part where before you find your labor and delivery room, they had to make sure that my water was actually broken. So they did that test. I peed in the cup, and like literally when I was walking to the bathroom at triage,
she was dripping water
everywhere. I was so embarrassed. I was like,
but I felt bad. I didn't want
Don't be embarrassed about that.
The nurses have to clean it. So I'm like, come behind Drue with a towel.
They were like, you don't have to clean
They're like, we got it. I'm like, I got it.
It was just, I think we were just so nervous. We were like scrambling everywhere. But after that, I did that, and then they came in and they're like, okay, your water's definitely broken. They asked me if I was having any contractions, and I want to say we were in there for a while.
We're probably in there for about 40 minutes.
Yeah, I had a little bit of, I had some contractions, but they weren't strong enough. So then the lady walks in and she's like, okay, the only thing is, she's like, your OB that you've been using is not on call and she's off. And you should have seen me. I was so upset. I was like, are you actually kidding me? But it ends up being an amazing thing. It was such a God thing. So like, it was great. I said he and she a lot.
He and she.
Pause to go make lunch for a second. So I'm back. Let's do this. I don't even remember what they were talking about. Oh, they just got to the hospital, or they were wiping up stuff and they were all embarrassed and stuff.
So if you hear us say she for the OB and then he for the OB, it's because Drue's original OB is a she, and the one we ended up having that was on call was a he.
Who delivered Ivory.
The one that delivered the Ivory is a man.
Yeah.
But Drue's original OB does come back later in the story to talk to Drue.
Yeah.
So that's when we'll switch back and say she.
Yeah.
So,
and they came back in, and after they told me about the OB, they came back in and they asked me if I was comfortable with getting Pitocin. After they came in and told me about the whole OB switch up, they asked me
Already. What? I wonder.
if I was comfortable with getting Pitocin, and at first I wasn't, but the reason why I went ahead and went with it, and I knew that it was the best thing for us to do, is because my water had already broken and it had been like almost 2 hours at this point, and she had I had not made really any progress. I was a 2, and I think I was like a 3 or something.
yeah, but you had basically no
contractions at all. And so basically what they said is that from that moment on, that increases infection, complications, things like that. So they were like, the best thing to do is to use it. A lot of people don't want to use it, but the best thing is to do it. So I ended up signing the paper saying that it was fine.
Yeah, and I mean, I feel like 2 hours, there's a couple flaws in the story, because usually at first they'd be like, okay, go up, go for a walk, try and get the contractions going, try and yada, yada, yada. She wouldn't have been discharged and gone home because her water broke. So they would have kept her regardless. But I find it interesting how they've only been at the hospital for an hour and they're already starting Pitocin. Like, I understand there was no contractions, but that's, anyway, so they signed papers, went through with it.
By the time I signed that paper, I got my IV in, and then we were already on the way up to labor and delivery. And what time was that? It was about like... Honestly,
I would look at the clock a whole bunch. I'm not really too sure how long the time frame was in between going to triage to the labor room. It's kind of a blur for me.
Honestly, all of it's a blur.
Guys, most of the thing that this video is probably gonna lack is time frame, because me and Drue were so in the moment. Time flew by like.
Here we are. They're not learning anything from my videos. Drue and I, please, I don't know why it triggers me. Someone said that I sounded really condescending when I corrected them every time, but it's annoying. I'm sorry. Drue and I.
It was just moving. Yeah. But once we got to labor and delivery, you got set up, and what's the first thing that happened to you in labor and delivery?
Gabe's gonna do a lot of the talking because I was pretty much out of it from like
epidural
on. Yeah.
Guys, so we get up in the labor and delivery room. By the way, we get in this room, and I'm walking around like, this is a suite. Like, this thing was awesome.
It was
huge.
so bougie and so nice.
It was bougie. It was.
Yeah, L&D rooms are usually really bougie.
Huge. The nurse, she was
You'd hope so.
But we get in here, we're getting Drue set up, and I can just tell Drue's got some nerves. She's like, in the room, she's about to deliver a baby.
Honestly, the one thing I did do a lot during my birth was shake. I shook a lot.
You shook a lot.
That's an epidural reaction. I was wondering, too, why I was so shaky and everything after I had gotten the epidural. It was almost like I was shivering, but I wasn't cold. I wasn't anything. Yeah, it's epidural shakes. It's a thing.
A lot for those days.
Plus nerves and excitement and stress and all that stuff. Plus your body is like going through an actual trauma. Let's be realistic. Giving birth is traumatic for your body, even if it's normal and nice and perfect, right? Yeah, so lots of shaking. Weird.
Even in the hospital, and even the other night when I was having some pain, I started shaking. But I heard it was completely normal, and whatever. But go ahead.
But we get her in the room, and basically they get her in the bed, and they're like, okay, well, we need to go ahead and probably start Pitocin to get you contracting. So let's go ahead and do that. But so they start the Pitocin. The Pitocin starts flowing. Then Drue starts feeling some real contractions.
I was like, excuse me.
Not to mention, if you guys don't know, Pitocin actually increases the pain and severity of your contractions.
So the nurse had told me, she said, whenever you get these, she's like, you're going to get them faster and stronger. She goes, they are going to be very strong. She's like, so, because you had already told me that you are not really good at pain, she's like, do you want me to go ahead and start for your epidural? And I looked at Gabe and my mom, and I was like, do I want to this early? Like, I was just so nervous about it. And so,
me and Miss Donna knowing that Drue is an absolute tit baby.
Literally, I told every single
Thank you for saying the quiet part out loud. Yeah, I get that. It's definitely a balancing act with the epidurals and being so early, but also Pitocin. Yeah, I wouldn't want to sit through Pitocin without an epidural.
I said, I am a tit baby. I was like, you have to be gentle with me.
What does that mean? She just said it too. What is a tit baby? Is it a thing? Is it a Southern thing? I've never heard that term before in my life. Okay.
Because I'm literally like, if I stub my toe, I'm out.
She's
I'm
out.
down for the count.
She's down.
Like, don't talk to me for days because my toe hurts. So I was like, I need to get epidural as soon as
Oh my God. I can just imagine these people as patients. Her as a patient.
possible, but then I felt like it was too soon because I wasn't feeling anything.
Right.
I always envisioned getting an epidural when I was like screaming in pain.
Right.
And so I was like, okay, like, can I get it right now? And she said yes, because I had to go ahead and get like a bag of fluids.
Yeah.
The bag of fluids took like 30 minutes, and then she said it could also take the anesthesiologist up to 30 minutes to get to me, or longer, because it was starting to be the next morning. And she said emergencies happen, and you know there's things that they already have planned out for the day. She was like, so if you want it right
sooner
now,
the better.
she goes, if you want it right now, now would be the time, because there's nothing going on, there's no emergencies right now. She was like, I would highly recommend it. So she went ahead and gave me the IV drip thing for the fluid. It was just regular fluid.
The fluid, they went ahead and put in the orders for the epidural.
And it came so fast. I
It
didn't
came
have time to process.
No, they came quick.
They came so quick.
So at this point, Drue's getting Pitocin pumped into her. She's getting the bag pumped into her. So by the time the epidural gets there, Drue has felt a couple real contractions by that point.
Yes.
So are you happy with your decision of
I'm very
asking
happy.
for it as early as we did?
I am very happy with it.
I was thinking so. So epidural gets there, and we're like, oh my gosh. We start seeing our nurse set up the table and all this stuff, and setting up all these things for the anesthesiologist to come in to give you an epidural.
Yes.
And I know you were more worried about the epidural than birth itself.
But whenever I saw her start setting up the stuff, I actually started to freak.
Me too. Epidurals are scary. There's a needle getting shoved into your spine, and then your legs go numb for, I got cat fur flying around, for however long. The epidurals are scary, and anyone who says otherwise can fight me.
Out. I feel like I didn't want to say I had a panic attack, but I was freaking out. And
She had a panic attack,
and then the anesthesiologist came in, and he was like, okay, everyone needs to get out of the room. Well, then I started freaking out even more, and I do think it's the anesthesiologist's preference if the husband can stay or not. And so he ended up seeing how I reacted, and he was like, are you the husband? And Gabe was like, yes. And he's like, okay, you can stay in. And so Gabe got to stay in with me. He got to hold me. He got to be the one that I leaned over with. And so from my point of view, like, I want to say, like, before we get really into all this.
And when we talk about this, we want you guys to know that this is me and Drue's personal experience of what we went through, and if this doesn't speak for everybody, so what Drue felt and what I felt in these situations could vary to you guys. If you guys have already given birth, or you know someone that did, or you are about to give birth, every situation is different. Every person is different. So
and I don't want to make anybody feel sad or upset or like yours went this way or that.
We don't want to downplay anything you felt,
yeah.
but we don't want to make something seem worse than it is. It's not that bad. But this is what we experienced.
This is on my own personal experience. So I was freaking out. I was bent over.
You don't want to make something seem worse than it is, yet you're using traumatic birth hashtags and traumatic birth and constantly saying that. But you don't want to make it more dramatic. Okay, well, we haven't gotten into the nitty-gritty of it, as they said, so
over the table,
we'll see.
And I was like, oh my gosh, hurry up, like, are you gonna do it? And he's like, I'm already almost done. And I was like, what? And he was like, I'm about to do something. He said, don't move. And so I didn't move. And he was all right. And then he put the tape on me. And then he put the little catheter thing over my shoulder. And I was like, what?
And I was like, there you go, baby, girl.
And then I was like, that was it. So basically, from my personal experience, all that I really felt was almost like a little tiny sting.
Well, you just felt the numbing before.
The numbing, but it felt like a paper cut. Like it wasn't even a pain. Like it was a paper cut. It was more my nerves that took over that made me scared. That whenever it happened, I think like it was literally nothing. And so he did that. And honestly, an epidural was what out of the whole experience, the epidural was the easiest thing I went through that day.
It was
the one thing I was the most scared about.
Guys, imagine that. And it ended up being a cakewalk for her.
Literally.
She didn't feel anything. I don't know if that's just, I don't know, but you didn't feel anything. And we're blessed for that. Okay, so guys, once Drue had gotten her epidural, she's in the bed, ready to go. We went ahead and cranked up her Pitocin. She was then taking a higher unit of Pitocin and contracting really fast. Drue went from about a 3 to like a 6 very quickly.
And then to a 10.
Yeah, quickly. So from the 3 to the 6, Ivory's heart rate actually dropped a lot. And so what they did was they went ahead and turned her Pitocin down, and then they decided what they wanted to do is, because Drue's moving, she's hurting, they took off the contracting monitor and the heart rate monitor off her stomach, and they went ahead and placed them on Ivory's head inside the birth canal.
I didn't even know that was a thing until she told me.
That was pretty cool. But also, on top of this contracting thing, it also had a little tube, because Drue was losing a lot of amniotic fluid.
Oh, I forgot about
they,
that.
They would hit a switch and it would pump water into your uterus.
Yes, I remember saying, oh my gosh, I'm peeing myself. And they're like, no, it's the water.
It's pumping it in.
I forgot about
And
that.
the reason they did that was because you
I
didn't
lost all
have
my amniotic fluid.
because you didn't have any amniotic fluid, your contractions were stronger.
Oh wow,
and they hurt more, and they hurt her more. So that's why they pushed more fluid in there to help her.
Baby.
So once they got the monitor on Ivory's head and on the inside of your uterus, things were a lot more accurate. We could track her heart rate better. We could track the contractions better and everything like that. So once Ivory's heart rate was more stable, and
Interesting. So, okay, I gotta write some stuff down because I have questions. I've never heard of that. I didn't work in L&D, so maybe it's a more common thing than I would know, but it's not important to pass on in report. I don't know, but that's interesting that they like pump fluid into the amniotic sac. Cool. Have any of you ever been through that where you've had to have like fluid pumped back into your amniotic sac during labor? That's really interesting. And maybe it's a thing with inductions when they have Pitocin and stuff going because it's all stronger and stuff. Yeah, interesting.
We're confident that it was reading correctly. They went ahead and turned the Pitocin back up, and then over the course of a few hours, guys, it was a little bit of time before Drue started really progressing. But eventually, Drue did get to a 10. When Drue got to a 10 on her contractions, she's a freaking baller. She got to a 10. The nurse, a 10 dilated. The nurse kept saying that she could feel
a 10 dilated. Yeah, but you did it with an epidural the whole time. So, just saying.
a lip of the cervix still on Ivory's head.
But I was ready to push.
But Drue was like, I gotta push.
And that is so stinking true. Whenever the dogs are eating phones, by the way.
Yeah, the dogs are eating phones.
But the feeling of I have to poop is the most accurate feeling in the world. It feels like you're holding in poop. It's like you have to like hold in your poop, but no, it is the baby.
And maybe some poop. Maybe some poop as well.
So, long story short, once we got to that point, they just said, you know what, we're gonna have her start pushing. So we started off normal, we were lifting our legs back, and we were counting the contractions. Every contraction, at the height of the contraction, we would count to 10 3 separate times. Drue, you were doing an amazing job pushing.
And you and my mom were doing an amazing job helping me. I had my knees all the way past my head.
I had your knees up in your face, girl.
And I will say, that was the most like empowering moment of my life. Like I felt like, wow, I can do this. Your sister's okay.
He's like, okay,
he's checking on his sister.
Then, this is where things started to get a little weird. Once they realized that little piece of the cervix is there, Drue had been pushing for about 30 to 40 minutes, and Ivory hadn't moved. And she was getting some really strong pushes, a lot of fluids and blood was coming out.
I thought, honestly, when I was pushing, like, I thought she was already out. And I was like, is she here? And y'all were like, no.
And they didn't just push the cervix out of the way. That's what had to be done with me. Interesting. It's weird because it's like, oh, we're pushing in. See how traumatic this looks? Look at her. Look at her. If this was so traumatic, there's no way she'd be laughing and making light and jokes of it. I'm sorry. It just like gives me the ick. Anyway, interesting. She might have been just pushing in her face then. I don't know.
She wasn't there. And the nurse said she could start to see Ivory's head, but it just wasn't moving.
There was like a lip. Something was stuck on her head.
So they were like, what's going on? So once the OB that was on duty, the guy, once he figured out what was going on, he came in the room. He decided, hey, look, I'm going to check you and see what's going on. He put his gloves on. He checked Drue out. And he was like, okay, that's a little strange. He goes, and he sat there and watched Drue push and watched the monitors. And he saw Ivory's heart dip a couple times.
He never left like the outside of my door, like in my room. He was always
He stayed around the room for a few hours.
Like
He stayed
2 hours that I pushed.
He stayed around and was watching. After.
Oh my God, girl. 2 hours of pushing. I'm sorry. Any mom who's labored. If that's true, if she pushed for 2 hours and nothing happened, I can't even imagine.
After about 2 hours of Drue pushing, he comes back in the room after reading the heart monitors. And I could tell the look on his face. He was not having it.
Mind you, it didn't feel like 2 hours to me.
It didn't. Honestly, it didn't to me.
To me, it felt like I only pushed like twice. So whenever they told me afterwards I pushed for 2 hours, I was like, there's physically no way possible. And it was.
It was crazy. But he comes in, he checks Drue again, and he's like, you know what? I'm gonna have you push, and I want to feel inside while you're pushing what's going on. After probably 15 minutes of Drue doing that and him helping Drue, he said, all right, that's it. He goes, we're done. He goes, we're gonna push you into an emergency section. Her heart rate kept dropping, and he said he wasn't comfortable continuing on because that could risk Ivory's life, and it could potentially risk your life. Yeah. He said, so we're done right there. We're going to get you into a C-section, and we're going to get this baby out of you right now.
And, like, whenever he said that, like, it always, like, came back to me, like, the flash of, like, someone saying that to you. It was just, like, literally crazy. But in that moment, I knew that she needed to come out, and I was so physically tired that, like, I just wanted...
After 2 hours of pushing? Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. Indeed, you were physically tired. My goodness.
What was best for her.
Yeah.
And so, like, usually, like, when you think someone tells you that, you would think of, like, things to say. Like, I was just like...
You were just silent.
I was just like, okay, like, if that's what we have to do, that's what we have to do. I think that's what everyone felt. Everyone was just like...
Everybody was like...
I feel like my mom and Gabe had a sigh of relief. I was so in the moment, and I was so, when I told y'all, like, so tired. I think that I just was doing whatever y'all said I had to do.
Right, and you know, and that's the thing.
I was really out of it, honestly.
You were out of it. But before even that point, though, let me just...
I'm trying to figure out why she was really out of it. And I know, like, birth, labor, all that, it is a blur, but it's not like she was on drugs or anything. Like, it's not like she was medicated. She had the epidural and the Pitocin. I don't understand this whole continuous comment of she was completely out of it. I don't know. And I'm trying to see, maybe it's the pain that made her loopy, but she had the epidural, so I don't know. Okay.
Mind you,
okay.
The amount of ways Drue had to push.
I do remember a few different like positions that you're talking about.
Yes.
I remember she did like the rope, so she took a tug of war. She made like she took my sheet that I had, and she would pull it, and I would pull and push at the same time. I got on all fours and push.
Drue was on all fours.
I was on all fours.
Pushing.
I did like one knee up on the side. I did one knee up on the side this way. I did knees this way.
Guys, we were flipping Drue over, having to push every type of weight possible.
The one that really hurt, it didn't hurt, but it was like more uncomfortable. Was they would take my knees and push them
together.
My belly. Oh, I remember that one. I didn't like that one.
But guys, I'm talking Drue pushed any way you can think of. Like pushing besides standing up and pushing because of the epidural. Yeah. Any way she could be on the table and push, we did. And there was no progress. Yeah. That's what led up to deciding on the C-section from the doctor.
I do want to add though, whenever they did tell me I was getting a C-section, I do remember saying, I feel like I failed. I feel like I couldn't do it. And I feel like I went through all of that. Or I do remember saying, like, I went through all of that for nothing. Well, it wasn't for nothing, but in that moment, I was like, wow, like I wanted to do that one thing. I wanted to give birth. I wanted to do like what I was supposed to do. My body was made to do.
I mean, you did. You did give birth. And it's fine. And you're both healthy and home.
And I do remember like feeling like I just failed. Like I was just like,
How long did that film last?
It lasted until until like everyone in the room was like, no, you didn't feel like going to all like encouraged me and stuff. You made me feel better, but like I did feel like why did I go through all that to not get like you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I don't know.
You feel like you did everything and it just didn't work out.
See, and like that's the thing is if you're going through, again, I said this in a recent video with breastfeeding, if you're doing all the things, if you're trying different latches, different holding positions, different timing, you're trying shields and lactation consultants and all that, and it still doesn't work out, then you are allowed to let go of that guilt. Sure, you can be a little sad and stuff, but try not to hold on to that guilt of like failure or you're not good enough or you didn't try hard enough, because you did. And same with her. Like the guilt of having a C-section is real. It's really real. And society doesn't help women because that's basically where we've gotten to with C-sections, that it's a cop-out or that it's a failure or that you couldn't do it. No, that's not the case. If what they're saying is true, and obviously we weren't there, we don't know if it's true, but if what they're saying is true, then her baby's heart rate was dipping. She pushed for 2 hours. There is no reason for you to feel like a failure at that point. However, it is annoying to have labored and pushed for 2 my gosh. But yeah, really holding on to that guilt of like failure and stuff, as long as you and baby are healthy and home and no complications, that's what matters, especially if baby is having decels and stuff like that to their heart rate. That means that they're stressed out and that's dangerous for them. So interesting. Okay.
Like you just messed up.
Yeah, and I feel like I messed up. I feel like it was something that I did. I felt like I wasn't pushing hard enough, and I do like during my pushes. I remember asking, "Am I pushing hard enough?" Because you really can't feel it. You can feel it, but you can't.
You were pushing hard.
And I asked her, I was like, "Am I pushing hard enough? Is it my fault? Like, is your heart dropping because of me? Like, is it because I'm freaking out because I was super anxious?" I was like, "I'll calm down. I promise. I'll calm down if you let me push some more." And they were like, "No, like there's just no way. Like we have to get her out."
Yeah, well, it might not have been a matter of pushing hard enough. It's pushing correctly, right? You have to bear down. And a lot of women, when they're pushing so hard, they're pushing in their face. They're holding their breath and they're pushing in their face. And that's why you're supposed to do breathing pushes, because it's more effective with that downward motion as opposed to like keeping it all stuck here and pushing because you're holding your breath. Yeah, I'm not saying that's what happened with her. I'm not saying she was pushing incorrectly, but a question to ask is to make sure that you're pushing and bearing down. And it kind of sounds like she might have been pushing incorrectly. And if that's the case too, if she was pushing incorrectly, again, it's not her fault. It's her first baby. She doesn't know how to push a baby out, right? But if she was pushing incorrectly and pushing mostly in her face, then that's on the nurses and the doctors to be like, no, you got to push down and out, not hold your breath in all in your face. So, that's crappy.
And so from the moment of them telling me that to go into the OR was like in the same second, I feel like was there a little bit of a break?
Not really. As soon as they said that, they pretty much got you cleaned up, got a sheet on you so you can go through the hallway, and then they pretty much took you straight to the OR.
I do remember going in the hallway, and all nurses at the nurses station could see the look on my face, and they were like, "You got this, you can do it, you got this."
So once they decided Drue was going to have a C-section, they had me get dressed up in like a cap that covers my hair, a whole apron, and insert a picture.
We're going to insert pictures throughout the whole video.
Yeah, so there's going to be a picture inserted of me in that, and we were told, guys, that for the C-section.
Okay. I was going to say, where's the picture? Where's the picture?
I got epidural, mind you, so it was going to be a quicker process than what it normally would be.
Well, that's what we were told. So they said, you know what, we'll get her set up, and then we'll get you to come in the room, and then we won't cut or do anything until you're there, and then we'll have this baby. Y'all can be there together while she comes out. And so we were like, cool.
Oh, God, there's a plot twist coming.
Sounds good. So we go down the hallway. They get Drue right up to where she's about to go to the OR. I sit down in the little waiting area for the operating room, and now it's your turn.
So I don't know why I'm going to start crying.
It's okay.
Because I remember. So they put me in there, and I remember seeing Gabe like go to the corner. I just remembered it all.
It's okay, though.
And the funny part is, I was like, "Ooh, I'm in Grey's Anatomy," and they laughed because that's what it looked like. It was super white in there, it was cold. You could see all the instruments, and I remember them asking me, "Can you get on the table?" And so I remember helping them like push me. I remember using my hands to push me up, and I got onto the other table. They put me on the table, and they said, "Okay, this is about to be probably very uncomfortable." They're like, "Because you already have an epidural, you're not going to be completely numb like you normally would be because we can't do a spinal tap on you because you already have your epidural." So they're like, "You're going to endure a lot of pressure, a lot of tugging, a lot of pulling, more than the normal person. It's going to be they said it might feel like pain to you, but it's not going to hurt. It's just going to be very uncomfortable." And they said it could take us 5 minutes or it could take us 45 to an hour. They're like, "We don't know what we're getting into because they've never cut me open before." And so I remember laying on the table and I was like, "Okay, And then the OB said, I'm about to insert, in, what was it called?
Basically just a balloon.
Basically, they had to go in there and push her back up. So she did go down, but because of what happened, I'll let Gabe explain because the doctor explained it to him. She was all the way there, but they had to push her back up. So he said, you're going to feel some pressure. And so I remember feeling like, I heard like the balloon sound, like the sound blowing up. And I just remember feeling her go like, whoop, like back up into me. And it hurt so bad. I remember being in so much pain. And the anesthesiologist was on my shoulder and she had this like scalpel, which you can kind of see it right here. She was like tapping me with it. And she goes, can you feel that? And I said, yes. So then she was, okay, I'm going to go down and I'm going to tap you. Tell me when you feel pain. And as soon as she touched like the bottom of my...
Oh, that's their dog making noises in the background behind them. I was like, what is that like smacking, licking noise? Where are my animals? Yeah, it's their dog.
My stomach, I was like, I feel pain. I felt every tap that she made, and instantly she goes, that's it. She was like, you're going to be put under. And the OB looked at her and he was like, yeah, he's like, I'm sorry, we have to put you under. There's no way that you can go through this, and it's just you're in the way that they didn't say my anxiety, but I think it was the way that I was so anxious and the way that I was coming off. Right. They could tell there was no way I could go through surgery like that.
Go through it, sit still.
Especially because she's a tit baby, apparently, whatever that means. Yeah, no.
While they have your insides open.
Honestly, it was all gawking. There was absolutely no way. So when they told me that, I remember...
That's what I was going to say, too. When they originally opened with this, with the epidural, and you're going to feel it, and you're going to be I'm like, why didn't they just put her under general if you're not allowed to do a spinal tap because she's got the epidural? Okay.
Looking up at the lights, like these huge lights, and he was putting on the caps of the to pull the lights down. They were green caps, and I look over at the table, and the lady starts calling out the instruments, and I was so tired, like my body was so tired. I actually fell asleep. I remember dozing off, and I don't think it was like longer than like maybe 2 seconds. I don't know how long it was, maybe a minute. And I remember falling asleep, and then the other anesthesiologist, this guy, he like tapped my shoulder and he said, "Okay, Drue, you have to wake up." And I woke up and I was like, "Can I hold your hand?" And he was like, "No." And he strapped my hand down to the bed. Well, he wasn't rude about it, but he was like, "No, I have to strap your hand down." And then my nurse, the one that was with me throughout all my pushing and all of basically the only word I can use to describe the trauma, she said, "Okay, Drue, we're about to do your call out." And then she said, "What's your name? What's your birthday?" And then I remember just falling asleep. And then I woke up.
So once Drue's, I'm assuming out, I'm sitting out in the waiting room. I'm still thinking,
I'm about to go in there.
I'm about to go in there and they're about to, pull Ivory out. I'm going to talk to Drue while they do it and it's going to be great. Oh, bless you.
Baby.
She just sneezed. Everybody on the camera, say bless you. Bless you, Ivory.
Bless you, Ivy Amelia.
God, she's so freaking beautiful. Anyways, so I'm sitting out there and I'm thinking, man, this is taking a little bit longer than I expected. They said it took like 5 minutes. So far, it's been like 15, 20 minutes. I'm like, that's weird. Finally, the anesthesiologist comes out and she goes, change of plans. And when you hear that in a situation like that, you're like, what? She's like, change of plans. I'm like, okay, yes, ma'am. She goes, okay, so I don't think she's going to be able to handle what we're about to have to do. So we're putting her under general anesthesia. She's going to go to sleep. We're going to put a tube down her throat. And
I didn't know they did that to me.
Oh, yeah?
Everything makes sense now, but good.
We're going to put a tube down her throat and everything like that, put her out. And then I said, okay. And they said, but here's the thing. You can't be in there when we do any of that. So we're going to go ahead and get baby out. And then you'll come in once baby's already here and while she's still under. And I was like, oh, okay. She's like, so you won't be able to be there when she comes out. And I was like, okay. So I was like, okay, well, if that's what's best for Drue and Ivory, then that's what we're going to have to do. So she left.
I feel like they told him that because it would be really traumatic to see his wife, and they're young, right? So to see his wife with a tube down her throat and out, and then they didn't know what they were getting into, and then, yeah, okay.
Probably 20 minutes goes by, and then I just start hearing crying. I just hear a baby crying. And I remember thinking, in my head, I'm thinking, oh, this is, we're in labor and delivery, like, there's babies crying all over the place. But then it hit me, we were the only ones in that area. So it hit me, I'm like, wait a minute, that's my baby crying. So I left where I was sitting. I ran up to the doors where Drue was getting operated on, and I just hear, her just wailing, crying.
Put the clip in?
Yeah, and Drue inserted a clip of what I recorded when I walked up to the door.
And that's something that just hit me like a few days ago, or it feels like it's all been a blur, but it was like I didn't get to hear her cry. I didn't get to see her when she came out, and I didn't even get to hold her till like 2 days later.
But now you get to hold her all the time.
Now I get to hold her all the time.
But anyways, guys, so I'm hearing crying, and I start crying because I'm like, that's my baby in there, and it was just a different feeling because I feel like you always envision it going a certain way, like pushing her out and put her on the chest, and we're just all there. We're surrounded by your family and all this stuff. But it was just very cold and very lonely. I was by myself. Drue was by herself, basically passed out. I was by myself. Ivory pretty much came out not around her mom and dad. Her mom's out. I'm not in the room. So it was just a very, it was
the only words I can use to describe that day was it was the most beautiful, traumatic day of my life.
That day was very traumatic. The way seeing you push, seeing you having to get on all fours in all different positions in excruciating pain, pushing, blood coming out, the crazy stuff. I mean, it was very.
Okay. This is where it's embellished. I'm sorry. No, I get it. You pushed for a long time, but you had an epidural, excruciating pain. You got an epidural the moment you got to the hospital, within half an hour of getting to the hospital. Like, traumatic. Like, let's make sure we say all the trigger words. I get it. It didn't go as planned. I do, and I get how that's disappointing, stressful, how being put under is stressful, but she didn't get put under because it was this huge emergency C-section. She got put under because she already had an epidural and wasn't numb enough for surgery. You know what I mean? They're saying all these things, but this is how a typical delivery to emergency C-section goes. The mom goes in, there's no progression, the baby's having D cells, and then they book an OR and have a surgery just to keep everyone as safe as possible. And they waited as long as they could. She pushed for 2 hours, but to say it was so traumatic and so much pain and so much this and so much that, this is where they lost me.
It was brutal. It was very brutal. Seeing the person you love so much endure that longevity of just pushing and just pain.
See, and 5 minutes ago they said, oh, wow, that was like no time. It felt like 2 pushes, right? So what is it? Is it was super fast and 2 hours flew by and then all of a sudden we were in a C-section, or it was so long and she was in so much pain and she was this and that and this and that. Do you see the difference there? Do you see how they're trying to make something that's not something? And the fact that they said that at the beginning of the video, again, if you have to say the thing, finish it for me in the comments. You're not the thing. It's just, okay.
It's a lot, and I know you were going through, so I know you know what I'm talking about, but I guess being someone that's not doing it, but watching someone you love do it, and you feel like you can't do anything about it to help you, it's terrible. But the story gets better. I end up being able to go in the room. I see little Miss Ivory laying on a little heating table thing, and they're getting her weight and all that. They did that while I was in there.
Stuff on her?
When I got in there, no, she sat a little bit on her, but she was purple though. And so she was getting, they were wiping her down and getting her cleaned up, but they did leave a long piece of the umbilical cord on her, so I could feel like I trimmed it.
I wish the nurse would have grabbed my phone, taken a picture.
I know.
It's okay though.
But so I trimmed the
Aw, that's really nice of them, though. They left a longer piece so he could go in and feel like he trimmed it. That's nice. That's cute.
umbilical cord down. It didn't feel at all what I thought. It was like a thick rubber band.
And I wanted to see my placenta. I didn't get to see it.
I was in there, but when I saw Ivory, I turned to my right.
Why do you want to see your placenta? That's a weird thing. Is she one of the ones that made it into capsules and is gonna eat it? Like, please don't do that. Don't do that. It's gross.
And all I see is my beautiful wife, wide open, intestines everywhere. And I'm thinking, what the frick? It looked like...
You weren't expecting that.
No.
What the indeed? They...
It looked like an episode of Saw. Like I was like horror movie. I was like, oh my gosh, like what is going on? And all the doctors just like, oh no, just look over there. And I'm like, okay, I just will not pretend like I just didn't see that.
Yeah. Yeah. Jeez. They didn't warn you beforehand, man? You just walked in to your...
It was hard for me to see. And I didn't know how to feel. As far as like her, because I was worried about her. And then I was worried about you.
It was like a weird, it was like a new feeling for you because you never had the both of us. So it was like kind of like one of those feelings of like, who do I
felt
which
pulled.
one?
Yeah. I felt pulled between, am I supposed to be here consoling Ivory crying? Am I supposed to walk over there and make sure Drue's okay? But I felt pulled. I felt, am I supposed to go with you and make sure you're okay? Am I supposed to go with Ivory?
You can tell they rushed to edit this just a little bit, eh? They never inserted that other clip either.
And make sure she's okay, and I just didn't know how to feel. I just didn't know how to feel. So I asked the nurse while they're starting to sew you up, and I asked the nurse, I'm like, she's okay. She put Ivory in the bassinet to wheel her off, and she said, alrighty, well, we got Ivory. We're gonna bring her back to the labor and delivery room. And I said, do I stay with her or do I go with you and Ivory? She goes, oh no, come with your baby. And I was like, okay, well, it made it a little bit easier to make a decision. They're like, come with her. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
I felt terrible. I felt like I needed to go with her, but I also felt like I needed to stay with you.
I'm glad you went with her.
And so
better decision. What would you have done with Drue? Like, there's nothing. Go with your baby. Go snuggle your baby.
I just, because I knew you were about to wake up, and I didn't want you to wake up in pain, like me not around. Yeah. So it was really hard. Yeah. And so anyway,
she'll be on some good drugs when she wakes up. Don't worry about it.
I go with Ivory, and the nurse was super nice. This is a different nurse. And she was like, hey, she's like, you want me to take a video? If you have your phone, I'll take a video of you pushing her in to the labor and delivery room where y'all's family and friends are. And I was like, yeah, that'd be awesome. So we can also insert that video too. But I went into the living room, I pushed Ivory in, and I got to see everybody just goo and gall all over. That's kind of where...
Where's the video? Guys, where's the clips? You're holding out on us.
I left Drue.
Watch it pop up now.
And I guess from my point of view, from that part was, I woke up, and I just remember screaming.
Damn.
I remember being in the absolute most pain I've ever felt in
As
my
soon as you woke up?
entire life. Instantly, like whenever
Really? Ooh, that sucks.
my eyes opened, they said, "Tell me your name," and I was like, "I'm hurting. I was like, there's something wrong. I'm on fire. Something's wrong. I need medicine." I was like, "There's something happening. Like, please, where's my mom? Where's Gabe?" Like, I couldn't see. Like, it was like when you're coming out of that medicine, you can see, but you can't see, and you can feel, but you can't feel at the same time. And so for me, I just remember being in the absolute most pain ever, crying, screaming, and then I remember getting pushed into the room, and everyone was in there, and they were all shocked because they were like, they didn't think I was gonna be coming back that soon.
And the bad part was that they didn't really have her on any medication at all.
So what they had told me was because of me already having an epidural, is they turned everything off whenever after I guess they were done or when they were doing it,
Yep.
and I couldn't get medicine after the 30 or 40 minutes that was up because they had to make sure that my blood pressure and all that was good, but the pain that I felt was not.
I have so many questions. Why did they take the epidural out if they couldn't give her pain meds right after she woke up or before she woke up? And 2, Tylenol and Advil, you can take those. Those won't affect your blood pressure, but you have to be awake to take those. But that's, okay.
Yeah, not good at all. So Drue was screaming, hurting. It was bad.
And I didn't even like I don't even think I even asked. Did I even know about Ivory? Like
You did. You only said, "Where's my baby?" That's what you said it one time. I brought Ivory up to you. You kissed her on the cheek, and I said, "Do you think she's beautiful?" And you said, "She's beautiful, but I can't see her." And it broke my heart. And then you asked me. You said, "Do you love her?" I'm like, "I love her."
Stop it.
And you said you love her. You said, "Do you love her?" I said, "I do love her." I said, "Do you love her?" You go, "I love her. I just can't see her."
And it was stuff because like I could see, but like I couldn't see. Like it was weird.
Right.
And it was like that until the next day.
Was
Oui, bébé, je viens, attends. I had a kitten steal my chair, guys. While I was gone, I'm back. I'm back again. Had to pause for nap time. But I heard this little guy steal my chair. Me? Did you steal my chair? I don't know if he'll stay. He's not super overly cuddly and I'm loud, so. What you gonna do, baby boy? So we had Mickey 2 uploads ago, Minnie last upload, and this is Archie. And we've had the trifecta of kitten visits in 2 uploads. 3 uploads. It's trifecta. Oh my gosh, I totally put my sweater back on. Inside out. It's really hot in front of these lights. Okay. See? Sunday filming. There's 2 interruptions. We're getting shit done though. We're getting it done. Okay. How much time could we possibly have on this video left? Are we almost done? 10 minutes. Okay. We can do it, guys. We can do it.
when we talked to when the OB came up to me in the operating room right after Drue's C-section, he told me, yeah, there was no way she was gonna be able to push this baby out. I'm like, really? Like, what? You know, what's wrong?
Well, how do you
She's
mean?
like, he said that her pelvis is very, very narrow. She has, small hips and a narrow pelvis. He said in the way that
So he thinks I'm skinny.
girl, and he said the way that.
Yikes. That's all I'm gonna say.
Ivory was facing, they kept calling it OP. She was facing up with her face up instead of down, and so it made her neck not be able to bend to go down the birth canal.
Okay. Yep. She was sunny side up. That makes sense. That makes sense. And it is 8,000 times harder to push out a baby naturally when they're sunny side up. Yeah, and you don't want to. Yeah.
And if you had a wider pelvis, it could have worked. But because your pelvis was so small, they couldn't get it to work, and that's ultimately why they had to give you a C-section.
Yeah, and he said that from now on, future, like I will
Future on,
never be able to
you need to have
birth
C-section.
after do C-section. Go into
Well, at least you know, I guess. This face on this guy. He's so serious.
labor and delivery, and we had the best nurses ever. I have to do a whole separate video.
L&D nurses and postpartum nurses. You guys are the best.
Postpartum, yes. I could do a whole separate video on our nurses, like literally life-changing. I will never forget every single nurse
They
I've
were
ever had. But basically, from this point on, I was completely out of it because of the medication that I was on, and because of how much medication I don't even know what I was on. But basically, it made me very tired.
She was on some high-level stuff.
Basically, I was very tired, and I literally physically, because of the labor that I endured, and then also the C-section, I think I would have bounced back faster if I just had the C-section. But
See? Bounce back culture. I just, it's so toxic. It's so toxic. She shouldn't even be focusing on, I should have bounced back quicker. I should have this. I should have that. She just had an emergency C-section where she had to be put under general anesthetic. Why bring up bouncing back? And that's exactly what I was saying with the bounce back culture earlier at the beginning of this video.
because I went through the 15 hours and all the 2 hours of pushing and all of that, my body was literally just like
Done.
it was like I physically could not even like lift my arm if I tried. Like I was so tired. So I want to experience, not that I want to experience it, but I want to experience to see a normal C-section. Like, could I have bounced back quicker if I didn't have to go through all that pushing and stuff?
Stop. Why talk about this? Like, no, it's still major abdominal surgery. It doesn't matter if it's planned. Yeah, you don't have the 15 hours of laboring, so you'll be less like physically drained and tired, sure, but like it's still major abdominal surgery.
Oh, most definitely.
I don't know. But basically, from that point on, I don't remember anything. Like, I don't remember Ivory's first night. I don't remember you
I mean, you probably wouldn't remember it anyways. Let's be realistic.
waking up in the night taking care of her. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, those types of things. So it's kind of like where he could take over because, like, from this point forward, I'm only just now today, like, completely back to myself, I feel like.
Yeah, actually. So
he got a haircut today. His hair's everywhere.
yeah, sorry. Anyway, so basically from this point on, Drue is out of it. She's on medication. She's in so much pain, and it just was what it was. So the first night we were there, after having Ivory, I was like, okay, well, I've got to do this because there's no way she's doing this.
You basically was taking care of 2 diapers, my diapers and her diapers.
Literally, I was.
You still are.
I still am for the most part, but I was basically changing Drue's diapers. She was bleeding.
I'm crying. I'm screaming.
It was bad. When I say Drue's diaper, she wasn't like defecating on herself, but
no,
she just. I was having.
He just said defecating. Wow. Good job, Gabe. What? Oh.
To change her bloody
everything. Like incision stuff, all that kind of stuff.
So I was in between.
Why? Why were you what? Okay.
Changing her stuff every 2 hours. I was feeding Ivory, and then I was giving you
medicine.
no, the nurses were giving me medicine.
Yeah, but you still had to wake up.
But I had to wake up when the nurse came in and they gave you medicine. I was changing your bloody stuff. I was going to get nurses when you needed them, bringing you anything you needed, everything you needed. Apple juice, anything. I had you taken care of. So guys, I didn't sleep, but a total of 3 hours the entire time I was in the hospital.
I think today you slept the longest.
Yeah, today's the longest I slept. Yeah. But it was brutal. It was crazy because it went from normally you should take care of your baby, but because of what Drue went through, I was taking care of her and the baby. I've never taken care of Drue that way. I've never taken care of an infant.
Seeing you switch from like Gabe to full dad mode, like he was figuring out things. I said you figured out things about being a dad quicker. Like you just jumped in.
I had to.
You had no choice. Like you just jumped in and you just knew. Like you knew her cues. You knew like it's just like it's been so amazing. I'm not trying to cut you off, but it's just been so amazing to watch you do that and see how you literally just instinct. Like he literally just jumped in and it was like he flipped a switch and it was like, okay, I'm a dad. Dad mode on. Like you took care of everything. And the only thing that would break my heart is when the nurses would walk in and they'd say, okay, mama, what's baby girl's feeding schedule? And I remember just laying there like, again, I'm such a failure. Like, I don't know. So I'd look at you and you'd be like, she did this, she had this many bowel movements, she had this many wet diapers, here's her chart. Like, you had her little chart and you were writing down all her stuff on it. And I just remember like looking at you and thinking like, oh my gosh, like, you're so amazing. And you're just being the best daddy ever. But I love you. And like, that was another part where like, I really felt like, wow, I'm such a failure because I couldn't do it. But
you couldn't.
I couldn't, but I was so thankful that like I had you to be able to do it and she had you to take care of her, or you and my mom.
Yeah. And that's what you do when you're married. You do what you gotta do.
Well, married
and dad. So it is what it is. And then all the way up, even when we got home, so we ended up. Well, anyways, that was the first night. And then the next morning, Ivory had to get a blood test. So they ran her blood test. They came back and they were like, "Hey, her bilirubin number is a little high. If you guys don't know what that is, it has to do with jaundice. They're like, her bilirubin number is a little high. It's kind of on the fence, but we're gonna let her go through tonight. Tomorrow morning, we'll test it again at 6 a.m. and we'll see what happens. We were supposed to be going home the next day. They said at 6 a.m. we're gonna come in. We're gonna test it again and see if it changes. And we were like, okay, cool, let's do that.
But we were like,
so she got jaundice. I mean, she was looking a little yellow in this video too, so I hope they're going back for checkups.
Going home tomorrow?
Yeah, we were like, cool, we're going home, we're ready to go home, blah, blah. Well, next morning rolls around, they test Ivory's blood, it comes back within like an hour and a half, so about 7:30 in the morning. Yeah, they didn't even give us the results. I knew the results by the way they walked in the room.
They walked in the room with all this equipment.
All these lights and all this stuff, and I looked at Drue and I was like, it must not have done good.
And by this point, I was feeling a little bit better. So I actually woke up that morning. I took a shower. I was getting dressed. I was so pumped up. I was like, I get to feed my baby. I get to hold my baby. This is my turn. I get to do it. And the nurse walks in with this bed and all this stuff. And she's like, unfortunately, we're going to have to do the light
She's like, we're going to have to do some light therapy. They said, okay, by the time they put her on it, it was about 7:30 in the morning. They said, we're going to leave this until 6 p.m. tonight. They said by 6 p.m. tonight, we're going to test it again. And if it changes, if it's good by then,
I'll go home that night.
You guys can go home. And I was like, okay, sweet. And I asked the nurse, like, is that even possible? She's like, yeah, it happens all the time. Like, you would be amazed what a few hours of this therapy can do. Like, y'all pretty much. She's like, I'm pretty sure, not 100% sure. She's like, I'm not 50-50. You can either go home today or if it don't work tomorrow. Like,
and the only problem is that she'd have to stay on it and then like only get for her like every feeding she'd only come out of it for 30 minutes. 30 minutes only.
And they had this little thing that goes over her eyes to cover her eyes. She hated it.
Most babies hate it. Yeah. 30 minutes out of the incubator, and that's really hard for new parents and really hard to like get new parents to do that because it's hard.
Hated it.
Yeah.
I hated it.
I hated it too, but I just remember feeling again, oh my gosh, I finally I got the courage to take a shower. I was up and moving
And they ripped it away from me.
And they just took it away from me. I was like, again, I'm a failure. I should have pushed harder the day before. I should have done something the day before so that I could be able to do it. And then
But like, she would have gotten jaundice anyways. Pushed her out your vag or out your stomach. She would have gotten jaundice if she was gonna get jaundice. Like, are they breastfeeding or formula feeding? I feel like they're formula feeding because it was such a traumatic birth.
like seeing her sitting in that light and just like crying, literally cannot take her out. Like you have to
Can't
leave
take her
her
out.
in there. Which I was thankful that we were able to have her in the room. You know
Yeah,
what I'm
I agree.
saying? But then she did her light therapy all day.
Hit about 6 o'clock, they come to check her blood again. Guys, I hate when they check her blood because they prick her foot, they're squeezing her little foot, but they check her blood again, and they come back and they're like, guys, she missed it by like 2 points. They're like, so we're gonna have you guys stay the night again. And me and Drew started crying. I'm sitting there like, oh jeez. They're like, we're gonna have you guys stay the night again. And basically, after they took her blood test in the morning, she was in the light from that morning all the way to our next blood test. And then after they took the blood test, we put her back in the light all the way until we got the results. And then when we got the results, we figured out she had to stay. She was in the light from then overnight all the way till the next morning.
Yeah.
Now the next morning is where it gets good because they're like in the morning around what time did they say?
The first round, so like the 6 o'clock, I think.
Yeah, like 6:30, 7 o'clock. We'll come in, we'll check her, and hopefully she can go home. And I was like, okay, cool. So all over again the whole night.
The lights.
And I had to wake up every 5 seconds, literally, like every 10 minutes, and make sure these little goggles were staying on her eyes.
They'd come over her nose.
They go over her nose, and we adjusted them. The nurses adjusted them. We adjusted them. It wasn't something we did wrong. Like the nurses literally kept saying,
Well, yeah. Also, she's tiny, so it wouldn't probably fit properly. So what a mess.
They literally said we had the best glasses, and they switched to these little foam things.
They even said they went to the NICU to try to see if they can get the good ones, and the NICU.
And they said they didn't have them. So she had these sucky little things, and that's they made me mad.
Jake hates us. If we actually kept them as a souvenir to show, just to have one day, like these little.
We should grab them and show them.
We should.
Where are they at?
I'll get it in a second.
I hate them. But anyways, but they did protect her eyes, so that's fine. Anyway, so they kept sliding down, upside up, and down. So then the UV would hurt her eyes, or it would cover her nose if it fell down too far. So I woke up literally every 10 minutes and checked them. Finally, a sigh of relief. They get there in the morning, and I'm over it, dude. Me and Drew, we're over it. Okay, so she got a blood check. Long story short, the jaundice was at bay. It had dropped significantly. Her bilirubin test was great. So it went from get her blood check about 6 to 7, I can't remember. And then the results came back, and then they ended up saying you don't have to put her back on the lights. Thank the Lord, because we were then finally able to hold her. That's the first time you held her. Officially, you held her once, kind of.
Okay, but it wasn't like I was all there. I finally was on a normal medication where I did not feel so drawn.
They took her off the high-end narcotics.
Yeah, basically, and I was able to hold her, feed her, and just be with her.
So by day,
study her.
guys, that's how brutal it was. Drew really wasn't able to be a mom up until day 3.
And that literally is like I can't explain, and I don't even want to talk about it. I can't talk about it.
We're not talking about it. So Drew did a great job. She fed Ivory. You were so happy. You were holding your baby. Drew did not.
Yeah, I know. For me, it was day 5 before I was able to hold my baby, and those days suck. They are, yeah. If you have this point where you can't hold your baby, like for them, they could take her out and hold her for the feedings and stuff. So I'm not sure why it was like this big deal, other than you can't cuddle her and stuff. I get that, and I get all the things. I'm not trying to diminish what they were feeling here. Like I'm on the same page there, but yeah, it's hard. It's hard. Oh God.
I'm gonna put her down. She was.
I was so excited. I got dressed. I got her dressed.
Drew's doing everything, walking around with Ivory. Like, look at my baby.
I was like, we finally got to get dressed and meet each other, and it was.
Got a little cute outfit.
It was fun.
But yeah, and then we ended up getting discharged and came home. And
it's been really good.
It's been awesome. She had her first pediatrician appointment yesterday.
I will say she is still a little yellow, and I noticed it a lot in her eyes.
But that's normal.
Yeah, that's normal, and they weren't really concerned with the pediatrician. We're going back to the doctor next week to make sure.
Going back again.
But I know a lot of y'all have noticed that, so we are like, she's good.
Yeah, she's good. She's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, but and her poop, TMI, her poop went from that black tar to like a yellow mustard. We're feeding her a little bit more frequently, and it's getting all that extra bilirubin crap out. Yeah. And with all that to say, this whole birth story is not everything's perfect. Not everything goes to plan. I know on social media especially, everybody puts on a persona that everything's perfect, everything goes to plan. Guys, it does not go to plan.
And yet here you are talking about bounce back culture. And how you're a failure and how you're this because you have this level of perfectionism that you built up in your brain that you tried to perpetuate on social media, that it was perfect and easygoing and blah, 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 blah. And then this happened. This is exactly why social media is toxic and dangerous.
When I was going through labor and things like that, and I know that some women can go through the most perfect labor, and they can. I even plan to put on makeup, curl my hair, put on this cute.
Jesus Christ! Don't stop making that normal. Stop making shit like that normal. That's not normal, and the nurses are judging you if you're sitting there like putting on a full face of makeup in labor. Just saying.
Pajamas.
That was her plan. I thought that was.
Just kidding.
And I literally, in those moments, I was like, how the heck do people do that? And I know that.
Yeah, Yeah, it's not real life. Exactly. So I'm glad you didn't perpetuate that standard, because it's an unrealistic beauty standard and an unrealistic like bounce back standard for moms and new moms and first time moms and stuff. Like, it's so gross. Ugh.
Everyone's story is different. Everyone has a completely different experience. And so, like, I like that everyone gets their own experience. Birth is not going to be the same for you, for me, for nobody. But us being on social media, like, people always think everything is perfect. And so I really wanted to tell you guys the story and share it with you guys.
Because that's what you put forward.
Yeah, we wanted to show you guys
the
a very
real
raw
version of like a birth
of life.
Ivory.
We try to be as real as possible here, you know, because we only really get to choose social media in general. We choose what you guys see. Yeah. So obviously we're not going to put all the dirty laundry on the internet. We're going to put the things that look the best. Yeah. But me and Drue both agreed to sit down and make this video.
We're going to put the things that look the best. Exactly. So why do you think that your wife felt this way after needing a C-section, after having a C-section, after giving birth? Why do you think she felt like such a failure? Because of toxic social media standards.
Really go in depth and talk about it because of...
I feel like everyone always just shows the highlight reels of life when you're an influencer. I don't like calling myself an influencer or a content creator, but whenever you put your
influencers
life out there, I feel like for the majority of the time, it's always glamour, it's always beautiful,
yeah.
It's always the good things.
Not always like that.
And I wanted to share the story with you guys because I know a lot of moms that do follow me had the same experience as me or had, you know, even harder experience.
No. I'm calling bull. You're doing this for clicks, likes, sympathy, engagement. That's the only reason you're doing this, to go viral because birth stories are huge on YouTube. No.
Or, you know, everyone's experience is different, but I feel like
because peppered through all of this is the ideal, is the highlight reel, is this is how it was supposed to go. This was my expectations. They were expecting it to be like the highlight reels, and it wasn't. So now they're going to capitalize on it.
Majority, a lot of people do have an experience like me, and you don't see that on the internet. You don't see people being honest about those things, and so I want people to be able to relate with that and be able to talk about it and see that, you know, it's not just you. Like me not getting home my baby for days and feeling like a failure, or feeling like my baby didn't know me, or I didn't know my baby. Like those are real things that happen to people, and you really don't see that a lot on the internet. Yeah. And so I really wanted to, you know, tell you guys and let you guys know, like, we experience, you know, hard things as well, even though we post on the internet.
Right. So, anyways, guys, that's pretty much the gist of the video. I hope you guys enjoyed our.
You notice how she said all of that and didn't look at the camera, or barely looked at the camera once? She was only looking at Gabe because she was uncomfortable, because she knew everything she was saying was bullshit. This is a great pause screen.
Story? Or maybe you guys learned something from it.
Yeah.
Or,
I did. What did I learn? Oh, that they pump amniotic fluid back in? I can't remember. I learned something. Was that the only thing I learned?
Something like that. But anyways, guys, we do want you to comment down below. Do you have a baby? Is it as cute as mine?
No, okay, actually, I do want you guys, if you feel comfortable, comment down below a little summary of like your birth and like what you went through, if you want to. Because I love hearing those things. Or like if you experienced something like me, or if your birth was like absolutely perfect and beautiful, like
put it down below.
All the things put it down below, because I love hearing all of them, and it's really cool to see like what we all go through as women. So if you want to do that, comment down below, and also comment down below who do you think Ivory looks like.
Obviously, she looks like Drue.
She looks like me.
If y'all ain't saying anything else besides Drue, you know you telling a lie. You know you fibbing. Guys, we absolutely love every single one of y'all. Thank you so much for the unconditional love and support. You guys are awesome. We can't wait to just share more of our life, share more of everything we have going on with you guys.
We can't wait to exploit the ever-living crap out of our baby. We can't wait to reveal all our personal moments to you. We can't wait to share every ounce of information with you about our baby. Can't wait to make so much money off of our baby.
So from now, we're the Basham family, but here's to parenthood journey. We're about to bring you guys along the journey of being a parent. So
Lord.
Let's go.
The journey of being child exploiters. Let's go.
See you guys. Bye.
Hello?
No, not watching that again. Okay, yep. Okay, so I want to share with you guys a little bit about bounce back culture and why it's so toxic, and how we've seen a lot of it through the boom of social media, and talk about why it's a thing. So I found this awesome article on Postpartum University, and I want to go through it with you quickly, just bits and pieces of it. It seems like everywhere you look nowadays, you see some new fitness challenge or diet trend that is supposed to help you bounce back after having a baby. Some are even specifically marketed to new moms, targeting you in your most vulnerable state of motherhood transition. And while there's nothing wrong with wanting to get back into shape after having a baby, the problem comes when these challenges and trends start to promote unrealistic standards and expectations, thus enter the toxic bounce back culture. So, what is the toxic bounce back culture? It is the belief that you need to immediately bounce back to your pre-pregnancy body or even better. It is the idea that you need to lose all the baby weight as quickly as possible and get back into working out and dieting like you did before you were pregnant. It is fitting back into your pre-pregnancy skinny jeans. This culture is toxic for several reasons. First and foremost, it puts unnecessary pressure on new moms who are already dealing with a lot. And it also promotes unrealistic standards and expectations. And lastly, it ignores the fact that women's bodies go through a lot of physical changes during and after pregnancy. So why the bounce back culture is so toxic? When it comes to the bounce back culture, it is important to realize that it is not realistic or sustainable. For instance, it is unfortunately all too common for new moms to feel pressure to get their body back after having a baby. This pressure comes from friends, family, even strangers, but most glaringly from social media. But new research is showing physical healing can take months or even years for a woman's body to fully recover after having a baby. Years? It can take years? Wow. Whoa, that's crazy. So expecting you to return to your pre-pregnancy body immediately is unrealistic. The problem with this culture is that it makes it seem like the only way to bounce back is to start dieting and exercising immediately after the baby is born. It encourages new moms to push themselves beyond their limits when in reality they should be focusing on rest and recovery. Not to mention, you are at high risk of injury if you start a new workout regime while your body is still healing and before you've had it properly assessed. This kind of pressure to bounce back can lead to guilt and shame, stress, or even worse, physical injury to your core and pelvic floor muscles. How social media compares to reality. Social media can be a great source of support and information for new moms. It can also provide a place for new moms to connect with other moms and share their experiences. I know I have personally made a strong connection through Instagram with other moms and wellness providers, but I also feel shameful when I see a mom who has bounced back quicker than me or looks better than me in their high-waisted shorts and crop top. What I have to remember is that these profiles rarely show the whole story, and they don't tell us the struggles that these moms had to go through while they were on their journey. It also might not show the village of support they had during their journey. It is important to remember that everyone's journey is different, and so is every individual's body. The truth is, there's no one-size-fits-all when it comes to postpartum healing. Everybody's body recovers differently, so it is impossible to judge what is normal or not. The problem with bounce back culture is that it puts a timeline on a very complex process. It makes it seem like if you don't bounce back within a certain amount of time, you're not normal, or worse, something is wrong with you. And the truth is that postpartum period is a time for recovery, not for bouncing back. It is impossible to judge what is normal when it comes to postpartum healing. Each woman needs to take the time she needs to heal and should focus on her individual journey, not on what others are doing or what normal is supposed to look like. So that's a quick little summary of this kind of toxic bounce back culture. I'm going to ask ChatGPT because I always like what they have to say. When it comes to birth and delivery, toxic bounce back culture refers to the societal pressure placed on new mothers to quickly return to their pre-pregnancy bodies, routines, and lifestyles. This pressure is often amplified by social media, where influencers and celebrities may showcase the rapid postpartum recovery, which can create unrealistic expectations for other new mothers. The key aspects of toxic bounce back culture in birth and delivery are physical appearance. There's often an emphasis on bouncing back to a pre-pregnancy body shortly after giving birth. This can include pressure to lose weight quickly, tone muscle, and fit into pre-pregnancy clothes. all of which can be unrealistic and unhealthy goals for many new mothers. It disregards the natural and varying ways bodies change and recover after pregnancy and childbirth. And that's a big one too. If moms and new moms are going on these crazy restrictive diets, well, you still need an increased amount of calories. You still need to be eating more. Well, if you're breastfeeding, because you're producing food for your baby, and what you put into your body is what comes out of your body for your baby. So these restrictive diets and stuff is so harmful and not good. Lifestyle and activity levels. New mothers feel pressured to quickly resume pre-baby activities such as work, exercise, and social life, as if they had not just gone through a major physical and emotional experience. Again, you shouldn't even be working out until you get your clearance from your doctor anyway. You need time to recover. Emotional resilience. There is often an expectation for new mothers to be happy, grateful, and emotionally stable immediately after childbirth. Really? That's an expectation? Those people have never been through childbirth then. Despite the reality that many experience postpartum depression, anxiety, or simply a range of emotions as they adjust to their new roles, not to mention the hormones that suddenly leave your body that have been at an all-time high for 9 months. Okay. Neglect of recovery needs. Again, not taking the time to recover. And social media and celebrity influence. The influence of social media and celebrity culture often exacerbates this toxic culture by promoting and glamorizing rapid postpartum recovery. Celebrities and influencers may share images or stories that suggest a swift return to a pre-pregnancy state, often without disclosing the resources, support, or even medical interventions they may have used to achieve such results, which is huge, especially with celebrities. Those people have personal cooks and trainers and doctors and stuff. Like, they can bounce back because they can afford to bounce back with a ton of support and nannies and this. And so they're sleeping 8 hours at night, whereas most first-time moms are not sleeping 8 hours, 12 hours a night. You're up every 2 hours. You think celebrities are up every 2 hours? No, they're not. Let's be realistic here. Impact on new mothers. The pressure to conform to these expectations can have several negative impacts on new mothers, including increased stress and anxiety, body image issues, reduced mental health, and neglect of self-care. How we can counter toxic bounce back culture. Promote realistic expectations. Encourage new mothers to set realistic and healthy goals for postpartum recovery, recognizing that every person's experience is different. Emphasize self-care and recovery. Highlight the importance of rest, nutrition, and emotional support during the postpartum period. Encourage open conversations and celebrate the body's journey. Focus on the strengths and resilience of the body for bringing a new life into the world rather than how quickly it can return to a pre-pregnancy state. So again, it's shifting the focus on the priority, which is rest, recovery, and your baby. Please and thank you. So let's ask ChatGPT. I'll look it up after. So the first thing I wanted to look into was the pumping amniotic fluid back into the sac, because that's really cool, and I didn't know that was a thing, and it is an amnioinfusion. An amnioinfusion involves the infusion of sterile saline solution into the amniotic sac through a catheter inserted into the uterus. This procedure is typically performed during labor after the amniotic sac has ruptured. Okay, when is it used? So meconium stained amniotic fluid, so they didn't have that if the baby poops. If the amniotic fluid contains mech, the baby's first stool, there's a risk the baby could inhale the mech during delivery, leading to mech aspiration syndrome. This can dilute it, reducing the risk. Interesting. Oligohydramniosis. Oh my gosh, that is rough to say. So low amniotic fluid, which is what Drue had. If there's too little fluid around the baby, it can cause problems with the baby's heart rate and limit their movement, leading to umbilical cord pressure. Amnioinfusion can help increase the fluid volume, reducing the risk of these complications. Interesting. And then umbilical cord compression, so when there's pressure on the umbilical cord. Interesting. So they have to be monitored. Yeah, so risk of infection. Obviously, there's always a risk of infection. Overdistension of the uterus, which would be so scary, and premature rupture of the membranes. But they're already ruptured. That doesn't make sense. Oh, Maybe if that's a procedure that they're getting it beforehand. Maybe. Okay, cool. Fun fact, amnioinfusion. So next is, can you perform an epidural C-section? Yes, an epidural can be used for anesthesia during a C-section. An epidural is a type of regional anesthetic that numbs the lower parts of the body, allowing a person to be awake and alert during the procedure without feeling pain from the waist down. How it works, so placement, effectiveness. The medication blocks the nerve signals from the lower half of the body to the brain, effectively numbing the area, preventing pain. The patient remains awake and can be aware of what is happening without feeling pain. Procedure: once the epidural, the surgical team will go for the C-section. Patient will feel pressure and movement during the procedure, but should not feel sharp pain. Okay. Why use an epidural for C-section? Awareness, safety. It avoids the risk associated with general, and pain management. The catheter can remain in place after surgery to provide continuous pain relief during the initial postpartum recovery periods. Exactly. During the initial post-operative periods. Exactly. That's what I don't understand. Why did they take out her epidural before she woke up? Like, I understand maybe reducing it, checking her blood pressure. She would have been on continuous monitoring for her blood pressure until she was awake anyways. Like, I don't understand. I don't understand why they took it out and she woke up in screaming in excruciating pain because she wasn't allowed any meds. Okay. Spinal anesthesia, similar to an epidural, but involves a single injection of anesthesia directly into the spinal fluid. Combined spinal epidural. This technique combines both spinal and epidural anesthesia, providing rapid onset of anesthesia from the spinal and the flexibility of continuous anesthesia or pain relief post-surgery from the epidural. So is that two combined spinal and epidural anesthesias? And then a general. Used in emergency situations or if regional anesthesia, epidural, or spinal is not an option. A combined spinal epidural is an anesthesia technique that combines the benefit of both spinal and epidural anesthesias. It is often used during labor and delivery, including for a C-section, to provide pain relief and flexibility in managing anesthesia. Epidural needle insertion. The anesthesiologist inserts an epidural needle into the epidural space in the lower back. This space is just outside the protective membrane dura surrounding the spinal cord. Through the epidural needle, a smaller needle is inserted into the subarachnoid space, which is filled with cerebral spinal fluid and located just beyond the dura. After the spinal injection, the spinal needle is removed and the epidural catheter is threaded through the epidural needle into the space. Oh, okay. So it probably would have had to be right away. When is CSE used? Cesarean sections. A CSE can be used for both planned and emergency C-sections. The decision after an epidural based on the safety and comfort of the patient and clinical judgment. Okay. So it can be done. It's just probably not during an emergency. I'm still shook as to why they... Occiput posterior, head down but facing mother's back. See, that's the thing, is maybe it was a combination of the two, sunny side up and two narrow hips. What is narrow hips or narrow pelvis? When people refer to narrow hips, they often mean narrow pelvic inlet or outlet, which could relate to one of the less favorable pelvic types, like the android or platypeloid. Platypus pelvis. A narrow pelvis might lead to cephalopelvic disproportion, CPD, a condition where the baby's head or body is too large to pass through the mother's pelvis during delivery. Factors influencing delivery with a narrow pelvis: pelvic size and shape. See, this is interesting. The actual dimensions of the pelvis can be assessed during prenatal visits, especially if there is a concern about the potential for CPD. That's the thing. I don't know. And I feel like this would have already been an area for concern. And reading that, baby size and position, a smaller baby or a baby in optimal head down position may still be able to navigate a narrower pelvis more easily. Yeah, and she was tiny, and I think the biggest reason is because she was sunny side up, which is very interesting. They didn't catch that. The soft tissue, including muscles, ligaments around the pelvis, play a role. Labor dynamics, the strength and pattern of contractions, the position of the mother during labor, and other factors like the use of epidural can influence how effectively the baby descends through the pelvis. A true narrow pelvis, where vaginal delivery is impossible, is relatively rare. Most women, regardless of their pelvic shape, can deliver vaginally. However, complications related to pelvic shape or size, such as CPD, can occur, but are not the norm. Trial of labor is often considered unless a clear indication that it would not be safe. A C-section and assisted vaginal delivery. Interesting. Yeah. I really feel like it was probably just baby's position, not necessarily the narrower pelvis, but they had to throw it in to clap back at the fact that she's skinny, and she bounced right back after delivery. She was too skinny to have a natural delivery. That's basically what she said. Super not toxic thing to say. It's so weird to me that she woke up and she was screaming. Because I've taken care of a lot of postpartum C-section moms, and they usually come over pretty numb still. I mean, maybe because she went under general and her epidural was already wearing off. But again, I don't know why they took it out. And she would have still had an IV. Why wouldn't they give her IV pain meds? I don't know. That part's sketchy to me. I don't know if it's embellished. I don't know if a medical personnel messed up. But the fact that she woke up screaming, allegedly in pain, that doesn't make sense to me. That doesn't make sense to me unless she woke up and she was just like disoriented, but she said she woke up and she was just in the most amount of pain she ever felt. And I know that they said that she's a baby and like she doesn't handle pain well and stuff, which fine, fair, but to wake up in excruciating pain after being under general, having meds in you and stuff like that, that's really weird. I don't understand why they took the epidural out. Anyway, that's kind of all I wanted to look up. The bounce back culture. And I did want to quickly look at how much their YouTube has grown overnight since posting that. So they posted it, time of filming, 12:57 on the 1st, 12:58 on the 1st of September. And they posted it last night at like 9 o'clock. Or something like that. They were at 104,000 subscribers when I took the picture last night, and they are now at 108,000 subscribers overnight since posting the birth vlog. Why? Because birth vlogs, right? And the birth vlog 16 hours ago has 144,000 views, 6,000 views per hour, so it looks, and it's more than 100 times their normal views. That's what this outlier means. Learn if a video is outperforming the channel's averages. 100 times outperforming. 9K views per hour. Yikes. So look at this. This is funny too. The highest views, 179.5. Average views, 28,000. I can't believe they've gotten 4K views since last night. It might have been since they brought her home. I feel like last night they were at 105,000 views, subs. But yeah, 4,000 subs. When did they hit 1K? And they only went up 5,000 subs in, I don't know, a couple months, I think. I think they hit it at the beginning of the summer, and a couple months went by and they only went up 5K, and now they post this birth vlog. It has 144,000 views on it. The 38-week pregnancy update only has 32,000 views on it, and they've jumped up 4,000 subscribers. Why? Because birth stories, trying to conceive, pregnancy, all of that, babies are lucrative, especially on YouTube. But they're not going to exploit their baby, right? No way. No way they're going to exploit their baby. She's already been posted how many times? I don't even know. A lot. And every single post has links. Pretty much. I shouldn't say every single post. But all of the posts have links to her outfits. But she's not a content baby. We're not going to exploit our baby. But here, she's making us a crap ton of money with these product links that we keep including. Yeah, okay. It's so frustrating because it's like, this is the one thing that you wish that they were actually being honest about for the first time in their lives, that they weren't going to exploit their baby, and they're not. They're full-blown going to exploit her baby. And for her to go, I don't even know if I want to share her. I love her so much. She's all mine. She's my baby. And then she's full-blown exploiting her within the first week. Cool. That's cool. It's so absolutely disgusting. Anyway, guys, that's what I got for you. I don't know. I don't know. What do you guys think? How do you guys feel about this story? I was believing them up until the point that he said what he said mid-video there, where I was like, nah, you lost me at this point, because then that's when it started to feel a little bit embellished. It would have been so much better had they just come on and been like, yeah, so we did this, we tried this, I pushed for 2 hours. Yeah, sure, embellish that, because like that's like, you are a tank for pushing for 2 hours. Not gonna lie, with no avail and no progress. I couldn't even imagine. But had they done that and not over dramatized it, like, yeah, sure, their goal was to come on and be like, listen, everything doesn't always go perfect. It's not the highlight reel. But they over dramatized it for clicks and views. And the fact that they're hashtagging like traumatic birth story, traumatic delivery, traumatic this, traumatic that, when it's like, it seems like it was pretty typical of a, let's try vaginal. Okay, we're going to go to C-section, like emergency C-section. And they always call it that if a vaginal birth ends up in a C-section. It is always an emergency C-section because it wasn't planned, it wasn't expected, and it wasn't scheduled. So to me, they embellished it all. And they're doing it for attention, for clicks and views and likes, not just to share their story, not just to be like, hey, this is what happened to me. And, not everything goes as planned. And the fact that they did the whole blurring her face and then revealing her face, and this whole lead up to this traumatic birth story and everything like that. Again, I know that she was crying a couple times and that she was really feeling it. And I feel like she was emotional surrounding the fact that it didn't go as planned and that she felt like a failure, but emotional about the whole trauma of it. I wasn't feeling that. And trust me, I have heard and seen some traumatic birth stories, and it's just, this isn't how people act in general, the general public. It's just not surrounding trauma. I don't know. It felt really off. When they were talking about like her going in and she got super emotional and stuff like that, I agree with this person that she probably went in, they told Gabe to sit there and wait, and she had a massive panic attack when they were like explaining everything. Or the minute she was told she was going to have a C-section, she was actually very over the top dramatic and freaking out. Basically had a panic attack from the moment they told her that. See, and then this all comes back to the fact that this was clickbait. The trauma, the this, the that, the this, the that. Because they're still not telling the nitty-gritty stuff that went on. They're still leaving out so many of like the in-betweens of like the actual real and raw. You notice how Drue didn't say any real and raw stuff that happened, how she was feeling, how she was this. She just kind of went quiet and was like, I don't want to talk about it. I'm going to cry. Which, like, fair, because you're probably traumatized, and I get that, and like disappointed because you had a C-section, and I get all of that. I'm not trying to diminish or minimize that, but I don't think that they're being entirely truthful. And it's almost like they're still trying to present the highlight reel in spite of the trauma. That's what they're still trying to do. And it's gross because they still can't admit that they were imperfect. Drue cannot admit that she did not act well throughout this whole situation, other than being called a baby, like, not being able to handle pain. But she never admitted any wrongdoing throughout any of this. And it's so, like, I say that with caution, because obviously we don't want to blame moms who are in labor for their behaviors, because labor sucks and it's a lot of work and it's very painful. But I don't know, there's weird, I'm getting weird vibes from the whole thing. I believe her that it was disappointing. I believe her that it's traumatic for her. But in the grand scheme of things, in what I know from professional knowledge, research, all that stuff, the fact that they're still trying to say that it was perfectly imperfect is what's getting to me and what's making me think that all of this is deceitful and just for clicks and views. And again, they've jumped up 4,000 subs in 16 hours. 4,000. I checked last night before I went to bed. They were at 105 and now they're at 108K. That's just, come on, you know? So overall, I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you believe them? Do you believe that this is the whole story or like the 100% truthful story? Because I'm on the fence. I 100% believe that it was traumatic and that she was disappointed and felt guilty and all like the mom guilt stuff. But I still feel like they're trying to dramatize it and make it seem bigger than it was. And subsequently skirt any type of accountability or responsibility for their behaviors during this whole thing. I don't know. What do you guys think? Let me know down in the comments if you've watched this before, if you've had some time to mull it over. What questions do you have that you would like clarified? Because I feel like, again, they still presented the highlight reel while saying that they wanted to be real and raw, and it is what it is. Did we expect anything different? Not really, you know? But guys, it's official. The longest pregnancy of life is over. Baby I is here in their arms, alive and well, with a little bit of a rough start, but she's doing well. And as others were saying, fingers crossed that this is the wake-up call that Drue needs, that she's not just a doll. She's not just a play toy that you get to accessorize and dress up in whatever you want, and she's going to have an opinion soon, and she's going to start moving and not be a prop that you can just like place wherever you want when it's convenient for you. So I hope they're kind of seeing, because a lot of people are saying that she wants a baby for the accessory, not to be a mom. And if that's the case, like a very rude awakening is coming, like a very rude awakening, because toddlers are a different breed of human. They're really cute now. I'm sure baby I is very cute now because she's not doing much other than eating and pooping, not moving, not anything. But that doesn't last for very long. And then they get opinions, and then they start talking, and then they start talking back. And then they become teenagers. And I have all of those phases in my house right now. It is insane. I live in a zoo with all my animals, human and feline, and the dog. There's too many of us in this house. But I do hope you guys enjoyed this video. I don't know where to go from here when it comes to the Bashams. I guess we'll see how much they decide to exploit their baby. But she's here. And yeah. That's it. I think, guys. I hope you guys are having a fantastic day wherever you are in the world. Please don't forget to like and subscribe before you leave. It really helps me out, and it helps boost my videos into the algorithm to get this in front of more eyeballs. And I really appreciate it at the end of the day. Thank you so much in advance. Have a fantastic, wonderful, amazing rest of your day. To my North American friends, have an awesome long weekend ahead of you. But yeah, baby I is here. Here we go. Now we get to watch the excruciating parenting journey. I hope you guys have a good day, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye, guys.